Hi, and welcome to Intuitive Journey with Desiree. I am Desiree Holmes Scherini, your host, and I am joined by the beautiful Jourdan Rystrom, who is multi-talented and fun and amazing. And she is a singer-songwriter, a hypnotherapist, a Reiki master, and a sound healer, and more. And welcome, Jourdan.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Desiree.
I'm so glad this worked out for us to get here. So I'm just really excited to virtually see you and get to spend some time with you. Jourdan and I met at HypnoBiz New York last May, was May of 2018. And we just had so much fun. Like, all of us had fun. But I told Jourdan, I said, I have to, interview you because she has a really wonderful story to share about who she is, who she was, how she's changed, how she got there, and so much of it based on intuition. And this being Intuitive Journey with Desiree, I love bringing out stories of why people should listen to their heart and their gut. And so I'm going to start with Jourdan. Well, I could ask you to start with where you want to start with, and if this isn't it, then let me know. But I'd like to kind of go. Yeah, let's kind of go back, because maybe chronologically, you weren't always in a great place, right? So let's let people know your background and what you're speaking out about and trying to share with people mostly right now. So go back to where you were, and all that.
Totally. And so, and I guess to tie everything together with the intuition, throughout what I'm about to say, all of these experiences, all of the pain, all of the addiction, I still could hear God's voice or Spirit's voice through all of it. I was always connected, even in my darkest hours. And that is really what has pulled me through. So with that said, we can go as far back to when I was a child, and I grew up in a small town in Minnesota, and I grew up singing lead in the musicals. I was Mary Lennox in The Secret Garden in an adult, in an adult college production. I was the child star at 12 years old. I grew up just singing and playing and dancing, and my father was a musician in Minnesota, and so I just grew up with so much music and love. And my dad struggled with drugs and alcohol ever since I was 7, and so I kind of grew up from age 7 to 13, kind of witnessing my dad struggle with this disease that I really realized was a disease, because my mom would take us to Al-Anon and Children Are People Too, and all of these different things, so that we could learn that what our dad had was a disease and it wasn't his fault per se. Yeah. So and I was the most connected with my father because of our music background and because of our creativity. And so through all of this, it's funny, because looking back now, I can realize I had all these addict tendencies even as a kid. Flintstone, when my mom would give us the Flintstone multivitamins and it says take 2 a day, I would take 4. I would always push the envelope on everything, and I was always an extremist, right? I either did it and I was the lead in the musical, or I got a chorus role and I dropped out because I didn't want to do it at all.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I kind of grew up with that chip on my shoulder, which is really interesting, because looking back now, I was wow, I really did have that. And I was I didn't really care what people said. I marched to the beat of my own drum, all of that stuff. And then when I was 13, my father his body gave out on him, and he fell over one day at his job, and he had a seizure and a cardiac arrest, and his heart stopped for 23 minutes before the paramedics could get it started again. And that was because of just years of alcohol, binge drinking, and drug use. And so when I was 13, that's when I lost the sense of who my father was. He was my best friend. We would, despite his addiction and the fact that he always drank away from the family, and it was his own problem filled with guilt and shame and blame for himself, where he would hurt himself, I was so spiritually connected to him through music and through
Uh-huh.
creativity. And like, again, I didn't know back then I was an addict, but it's like one addict to another, like we can really connect and understand each other on a different level. And so when I lost the sense of who he was, what I mean by that is he's still alive, but he's kind of like 3 steps up from a vegetable. He needs 24-hour care. He has
Really? So
yeah,
it totally, like there was a one day he's himself and the next day he's no longer playing his music. He's no longer the
yeah.
the
Well,
the guy that
yep.
you like you say we're so connected with. And
Yeah,
that's almost like a death. That's
it is. It's almost worse than a death
because he's
because
still
you still
here.
have to be around that person. Like
Yeah.
it's very hard to process when someone, becomes a
Yeah.
different person, because you're like, they're still there. And my subconscious mind doesn't know how to quantify that. It doesn't know how to forgive, doesn't know how to forget. It doesn't know how to heal. Right.
Yeah.
And so there's all of that too. And I'm 13, and that's like the cusp
I
of,
know.
as hypnotherapists, we know
Yeah.
7 to 13, those are the developmental years where
Yeah.
everything is like
So
integrating into our,
important. Yeah.
yeah. And so, he had an anoxic brain injury. So it was because he was dead for so long, there was no brain to hit, or there was no oxygen to his brain, and that caused him to have this brain injury. So still to this day, he's living, and he lives in Minnesota. My mom takes care of him, but kind of to add that to my story, that was the underlying like factor growing up, where I was like, I had a dad, I loved him, I knew he struggled, I understood why he struggled, and then I didn't really have a dad anymore, and then
Yeah,
I became a mother.
that's really fundamental to everything that follows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I became like the mother to my family, and I was babysitting at 11 years old or younger. I have a little sister, I was the oldest, and so I would just take care of us, and like we made ends meet so that we didn't lose the house because my dad was the breadwinner.
Oh,
And we had to sell cars, just like the whole family. And my mom, she's so strong through all of this, making things work for my sister and I. So just imagine, like, little Jourdan has to become an adult, and she wasn't ready to become an adult so
yeah.
fast. And then that's actually when I was 13 and he was in the hospital in the ICU room about to die. That's the first time I clearly can remember hearing God's voice. And for anyone listening, I use the word God, but you can call it spirit, Buddha, universe,
Yeah.
energy, whatever works for you. That's just the terminology that I use. And so I clearly heard this voice, and it was, Jourdan, he's not going to die. He's going to walk you down the aisle at your wedding. He's not going to die. He's going to walk you down the aisle at your wedding. And so I remember I'm 13 in the ICU room, and I'm like, Mom, he's not going to die. He's going to walk you down the aisle at your wedding. And she's just like, what's going on? Crazy. Yeah. And then when we were there holding, begging for him to wake up, my mom's like, Todd, open your eyes, Todd. And I'm like at the foot of the bed and like singing, and just we're all just here and just praying. And then boom, he opens his eyes.
Wow.
So it was one of those things where I was like, all right, like this is
Like
real.
a TV, like one of those like doctor shows,
Yeah.
That moment where
like,
yeah.
My life someday will be a Hallmark special. Like,
Yeah.
that's gonna happen.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be like in the theaters,
Exactly.
No, only bad stories go there. It'll be a Hallmark special. It'll be a happy ending story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Come see the Hallmark special.
Yeah.
And so from that moment, I really just grew my belief, my faith, my intuition, my trust. I was like, I'm fully supported no matter what. And now, again, all of a sudden, I'm an adult without a father, a 13-year-old adult. And then I clung on to all the addictions before drugs and alcohol. So, and the reason I'm telling you chronologically is because like my first addiction was attention, men, right? I always had a boyfriend from age 13 to up until recently, where I took a break for a while, and now I actually have found the love of my life.
Yeah, I've seen that on Facebook. You guys look very cute together.
Thank you.
We'll have to ask about him more later.
Yeah, we will. Maybe we'll make a cameo. So I totally addicted to love, codependency, because it's like, you lose someone and then you're like, oh, what do I have anymore? And just literally every addiction you can think of: food, wanting to be loved, shopping addiction. Oh my God, shopping kicked in when I was 18 and got a credit card.
Uh-oh.
Now I'm still dealing with that stuff now, in recovery,
Yeah.
sobriety.
Yeah.
So it's like, I had all the addictions, and I call it whack-a-mole. It's like you stop shopping and then something else comes out. You stop drinking and then something else comes out.
Yep.
You stop doing drugs and then eating comes out, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
and it's like a constant, it's a spiritual program in terms of my recovery. Like once I'm connected to spirit, those things all fall away. But it's when I'm not connected is when that will come out in its various forms, right? And so I grew up, and then we'll fast forward to LA. So I went to college, Berklee College of Music.
Yeah.
It was amazing and fun, and I studied songwriting, vocal performance, and music therapy. Then I moved to LA, and LA is really where like my addiction was born, at least the addiction that people could see more so. Right. Partying, I lived the Hollywood life, right? I was like, hoo-hoo, I'm in LA. I'm 21 years old. I just turned 21 when I walked off the plane.
Wow.
And I
can imagine. Yeah.
And I had actually just, upon arriving in LA, within 6 months, I had finally separated from my abusive boyfriend. And I say abusive as in it was mental, it was emotional for a couple years. And then at the very end, it turned physical. I had to call the cops on him. And so when that happened, I had just arrived in LA. I was 21 and I had nobody. I didn't know anyone. He was like the codependent person that didn't want me to leave the house or hang out with friends. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah. Wild child came out, right?
It's like wild child came out because I had, like, for the last 3 years, all through college we dated, I had been repressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't do this. He wouldn't let me drink or do drugs. So I would sneak him behind his back. But I had been so repressed. And so then boom. Yep. Like you call me now. I'm a wild child as a dancer, but the wild child fully came out in all of its forms. And it just came out in a way that, like, I just didn't love myself. I was abusing my body, my mind, my spirit in all of its forms. If you can think of it, I probably did it. And
sure a lot of it was probably almost like in reaction to him. Like even if it was hurting yourself, you're like, well, I'll show him, I'm going to do whatever I want. And so many people do that stuff. They're like, like they do stuff that's stupid or not good for them, just in a reaction to somebody or something else. Yeah. And they don't stop to think, who's this hurting? Yeah.
Exactly. And even when we were together, like in college, and he literally was like, you can't leave the house. You can't buy clothes for yourself. He would force me to cut up any new clothes I bought. If he like intercepted the package, he would force me to cut them up with a scissor.
No, he's a keeper.
Oh yeah. Total keeper, but he would like hold a glass of orange juice over my laptop. It's like threatening, I'll pour this orange juice all over your laptop if you don't cut up your clothes. Yeah. And it was so intense. And so of course, and then I wasn't receiving any affection, right? Because he would hold that back too. So then I would go out and do things that I'm not proud of, like cheat on him and do other, things. Cause I was like, I'm not getting it here. So I deserve to have this here. Right. Again,
it didn't do much for you. Yeah.
All part of the learning process for sure. So I really feel like, and that's why I'm a healer now, because I feel like I can really help anyone through anything, because I'm like, I've been there. Like I can see both sides. I can really feel that empathy. I can be there with each person and understand, because it's the human experience, right? Both the black and the white, the light and the dark. Yeah. So I don't know where I'm going from there, but
so that's where so in your 20s, then you drinking, partying, and you kind of lost that connection. Yeah. Especially being involved with that guy. I can imagine that you're not allowed to talk to God. I'm sure you're not allowed to have spirituality. You're not allowed to have any self-love, and then you probably carried that whole identity with you for a while. So how did you shed and shred that message? Like when did that transition start happening for you, when you let go of that BS?
Like, you mean when did I like transition more into recovery?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
what was the catalyst for that?
yeah,
There
so
was
it's funny because God works in mysterious ways, right? The universe always has its way of leading you through. So my major addiction, like the one that took me down to the point of like surrender, was Adderall, and that's a focus pill
Mm-hmm.
that is prescribed to many kids,
Yeah.
many young adults,
Yep.
college students, and it's abused and it is highly addictive. And so I actually do a lot of speaking out on that, and like putting your kids on medication when there's so many other ways
Yeah.
they can be like really. My personal belief is that they just need to be more creative and allow themselves to get that energy out in a different way, because I was so creative before that drug, and then I became a zombie. And then of course I didn't use prescription anymore. I would buy it off the black market and like ship coffee bean bags of these pills across the
Oh,
country.
really?
It got, it went all the way.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you on that. Yeah, like that's one of the big things I talk about is like, trying, go to the natural stuff first, go to mind, body, go to, herbal, go to, but the doctors, you go to a doctor and they're just like this pill, this pill, this pill.
oh yeah.
And Adderall or any of those, they're really, my 2 cents worth is they're made to manage the classroom. They're not really made to help the child. They're made to help the child fit into the square hole, because he doesn't or she doesn't, isn't manageable by the people that want to manage that. Instead, it's not for the kid. It's for the environment that they're trying to shove that kid into. So I agree,
they can handle their child. Yeah.
And it's very, it is difficult that society usually the standards are certain ways. This is the way, instead of having more alternatives and like outlets for kids, anyway.
Totally. And don't get me started on the pharmaceutical market, because doctors are paid like, hey, give out 80 prescriptions this month and we'll send you on a trip. It's like they're basically bribed. And I've heard that first account from some people that are in that industry. That's like, they're not always looking out for your highest and greatest good. Yeah. There are some doctors that are amazing and great and are there. Like, this isn't everyone, but there's a lot of that going on in the industry. And it really hurts me because people don't think for themselves. Right. And they give their power away to the doctors, and they make the doctors their higher power.
Oh, the doctor knows everything,
They're human too.
That was something I had to learn myself too. You think, oh, the doctor knows. But there were enough incidences where like they're do this or do that. And I'm like, and they're like, no, you need to do it this way. And then I did it that way or whatever. And I'm like, even with when my kids were sick, like when my daughter was younger, she had something called interception. And, talk about intuition. And that's when she was a baby, she was like 2 years old. And that's when your intestine gets sucked into itself and creates a blockage. And so every 20 minutes she was throwing up and crying in pain, and then she'd be okay. And then throwing up. And so we took her to the emergency room. The doctor says it's the flu. And I'm like, no, I don't think it's the flu. And he goes, no, it's the flu. Just take her home, give her fluids. So I'm like, well, what do I do? I took her to the emergency room. The doctor says it's a flu, take her home. But I knew there was something wrong. And I wish I had gone, say, I need to talk to another doctor. Took her home. Yep. We went all night long with the poor thing doing this. So first thing in the morning, I took her into the regular doctor office, and they did a ultrasound. And that doctor said she could have died because the blockage, her intestines could have burst. And so they just had to do a procedure where they open, it wasn't surgery, luckily, and she would have had to have. But I'm like, I knew that. It's like when but you, and I think we all do that. Like we all, like sometimes but you don't speak up and you don't do it. And so like that's why I'm like always saying like listen to your own voice, Anyway, that's my little thing about like one example of listening to the doctor and being like, I should have just listened to myself, because we know our own bodies and our own children the best. We really do. Anyway.
Yeah. And then like the other part about that is like, we do know that, but like a lot of people are really scared to step into their own power, which is why I created my business, Awaken the Glow, for that reason, because I want to help awaken the glow within all of us, because so many people just don't even think they're powerful. They think they live in fear and guilt and shame and say, well, I'm not good enough. I can't speak up for myself. I can't listen to my own body. And then they just delegate to people in white coats, and then they get pill after pill after prescription where they can't even listen to their body, even if they wanted to, because it's so infiltrated with toxins. So again, that's a whole nother podcast, but
true. I did sidetrack. So you personally then toward your recovery.
So I kept getting pokes. So like my whole addiction kind of went through like about 3 to 4 years of being in LA. And I kept getting pokes from what I would call like God pokes, like, hey, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Like my angels were like, hey, are you done yet? And there would be little things that would happen, never anything super serious. Like I never lost my job. I never, you know, some people like go to jail, rehab, you know, that wasn't part of my story, which again is funny because when you're in recovery, it almost makes you feel like I'm not good enough to even be in recovery because I didn't have it bad enough. I got
to reach over and plug in. I'm listening. Keep going.
And so I kept getting these pokes. Like I would be driving home in Hollywood and pop a tire. Like I would never get in accidents with other people. I would usually just do something to myself. That was not the best. And so like I'd pop a tire and be like, hey, are you done yet? Like seriously, this needs to be. I would get pulled over by a cop, and the cop would not, like I would be high and drunk, and the cop would let me go. And I don't know how this happened, but it was like, hey, like seriously,
this could have been bad.
Figure this out. And then it's funny because sometimes our addictions can serve us, because I actually entered into a new codependent relationship, and the guy, I kind of, you know, made him my higher power per se. And the guy was like, on day 3 of us dating, he's like, hey babe, I think you're an addict.
Oh.
And I'm like,
that?
I was like, excuse me? And he's like, yeah, like, he's like, I'm in recovery. He's like, I'm 4 months sober. And like, he's like, the way that you talk and that you react to things and like just the whole, he's like, I just think that you are also an addict. And I was like, I was offended, you know, first off, I was like, how dare he say that? I'm amazing, right? And I've got this under control. And I gave up Adderall on my own 3 months ago, but then I had a relapse, and that one tiny sliver of a pill that I relapsed on had me order a whole nother 80 pills in one moment. And it was like, okay, I have a problem. This is
And you recognized it then?
So, well, yeah, with the Adderall pills, I was like, this is unmanageable. I need help. But then I still didn't think I had a problem with alcohol. But it's like, the thing is, it's all related. Like, you're not just an alcoholic or just a drug addict. Like, when you're an addict, you're an addict. It's like, the alcohol wasn't the problem. It was the solution. The pills weren't the problem. They were the solution to a spiritual malady that is missing, the black hole that's missing inside of us, because we're not filling it with the love and light of source.
And that's, you know, one of the things in my practice that I like to, you know, if people will allow me when I'm working with them, I tell them if they want to, they come to me like maybe they want to stop smoking or they want to lose weight, right? And I said, I can give you, you know, some motivation and some techniques. I said, but I really like to go to the core of the problem, because you can lose weight, but then something is going to come up someplace else. Like you said, whack-a-mole. And if you go to the core, then that empty spot is not there anymore, or something's resolved. Whatever makes you want to do these things can be
and it's like the root. The root of the tree.
Pull it out by the roots, or you're just cutting down the weed, and the weed keeps coming back. You know?
And I find in my experience, it's normally rooted to lack of self-love, lack of self-confidence, lack of self-worth. And that's like this deep root that, and that's going to sprout out in different branches, like smoking, weight gain, gambling, shopping, sex addiction, all of that. Like, but it's all rooted in that deep, lack of really connection. Because when we are connected to source, like, and when I'm super connected, I'm like, I am infinite and I'm connected to everyone and everything. And it's so amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And it's almost like living, like choosing to step into that 5D reality every single day instead of living the mundane in the 3D. Yeah. And so, so I kept, back to my story, I kept getting these pokes and then I met this guy. So after the Adderall thing happened, I was like, ooh, I have a problem. I kind of realized I had a problem. And then the guy called me out on it like a month later. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll join you at a 12-step meeting. So I go into the meeting and it's in the nicest part of the Pacific Palisades.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
They're like, free coffee, free donuts. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And I walk in and then I hear there's an old man speaking up front who's like 80 years old. And I was like, in my head, I'm judging it. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get anything out of this, right?
I have nothing in common with that man.
Yeah. And then he like tells my story. And I'm just like, and I'm crying. I'm like, I'm an addict. Okay. I was like, I want to be sober. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And so, after that initial meeting, then like the next night was Halloween and I had already planned this crazy Halloween drinking bus and I tried to go on the bus and not drink and then I couldn't not drink. So that was really important for me to be like, wow, Jourdan, you can't stop. So therefore you need to either surrender it all or keep living the life that you want to live. And so my sobriety date is November 1st, 2015, because that next morning I was like, all right, God, I really do have to just surrender. I can't try to not drink. I literally have to give it up completely. I have to give all of this lifestyle up completely. And I did. And I just asked, I said, please take this from me so I'm free of it forever. Like I'm done. And it was this moment of just giving it up and saying like, no matter what, I'm going to move forward in my life. No matter what, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to smoke. I'm not going to do, weed or pills or edibles, any of that, no matter what. And I can get through this. And so then I got support. I joined the 12-step program. I got a sponsor. I, worked through the steps. It's so amazing. I really recommend, even if you're not an addict, to look into that because I think it's a spiritual, it's all based on spiritual principles. And it's really amazing at cleaning house with your own life and getting clear. And so, I'm here today, and this November will be 4 years.
Congratulations! And it's got to feel great though, because all the other time it was, even if it was fun, it was like a fun monkey hanging onto your back, right, with claws. Oh, look how cute he is. But you're like, ow. So,
and there would always be like a dread. There'd always be like an inner dread, like that. What about the next morning? Or like I would go drinking to escape the fact that my bills weren't paid that month, So it's like there was always, again, it was the solution. It was helping me feel good in the moment, but then I would have to come back to reality. And I always consider drugs and alcohol to be a source of, I say it's like, synthetic. It's a synthetic connection to God. We're always synthetically trying to connect with these substances that are not the organic connection that it's our birthright to have that organic connection and to be free.
Yeah. And I like that term, synthetic. I'm going to steal that from you and use it when I'm talking about that, because it's true that we all have what we need inside, but we're always looking out there. It's the pill, it's the trip, it's the shopping. Like you say, it's like, when I get this, or if I just had that, or, but it's, people need to stop looking outside because it's in here. And sometimes you got to go through tough shit, stuff.
Seriously.
To get to like, it's almost like clearing the mud off of a beautiful stone.
Totally.
So just have to push and push and wash, and then you're like, oh, there it is. So I agree with you. I like that synthetic word, that it's not real. It's make believe, and it doesn't satisfy. It's like or that fake fat they put in the potato chips. It just makes you sick. And
I always check in. Like nowadays, even I check in with myself. I'm like, am I doing this to have a synthetic connection, or am I doing this to have a conscious, organic connection? And sometimes I'm like, oh, Jourdan, you're eating right now to have a synthetic connection. So let's reframe.
Yeah. It's,
and it's about being conscious. Like, nobody's perfect. I am not, like, just because I'm sober does not mean I'm perfect by any means. And that's not, that's never what I'm promoting. I'm like, yes, I'm a healer because I've been there. Yes, I'm a hypnotherapist because I studied this and I've been there. Like, I've been there and I still go there sometimes,
no, yeah,
but
it's
it's
like,
about being conscious.
we all have this, it's just the difference between being like the low dips and staying down. That, I think everybody, like you said, nobody's perfect. If they are perfect, I bet they're not perfect. If they are perfect, and they say they're perfect, they're really not perfect, right? They're the ones who are like, well, I'm, Tammy Faye Baker or something like that, right? Praise, I'm perfect. No.
Yeah.
There's something in there. Yeah.
And being in LA for the last 8 years, I can't tell you how many celebrities and influencers I've worked with as clients that they portray this perfect life on social media, and then they're coming to me bawling and crying about how much they're so sad and their lives are a mess. But they don't show that, which I think is the problem. The world right now, all we want is vulnerable, authentic, real connection, because we're less connected than ever organically. We're on Zoom and we're on Instagram, and like people are craving that authentic connection.
And to be a celebrity is like what a lot of pressure, and no wonder they need people like you or me to come, but even better if like you could send the message out there. And people have been trying for years about like the airbrushed picture and about the they've been trying for years. Hopefully the message will just get out there, and there will be more authentic people sharing their realness, and I think a few are, but still there's the plastic appearance of people, which is so sad. And then then you hear somebody like, oh my gosh, that person so and so, they had it all and they committed suicide, because they weren't allowing themselves to be everything they are. They were trying to be one little piece, which looks perfect but wasn't connected, like you say.
Exactly. And that's why I say you got to check on your strong friends. Like us healers, Desiree, we need to support each other, because we're the ones that are more afraid to show our weakness, quote unquote. I don't consider it a weakness, but we're more afraid to show our vulnerability. Like, that's why I put out videos of me tapping and crying. I put out videos publicly
I
of
haven't
me
seen that one
myself.
Well, next time I have too many glasses of wine and I start crying, I'm going to pull out and I'll go, see, I'm not perfect. I had a bad day.
And I put myself out there. When I moved to Nashville, a lot of stuff kind of came crashing down for me. And like, I got really present to the fact that I'm like, all right, the universe wants me here, but it also cleared everything from my path. Financially, I didn't feel safe in my own home, sexual abuse. Like, I had all of those experiences upon moving here, and like I had another, it's a constant up leveling. It was like, I feel like the playing field got clear again, and I got this blank slate to start over and be like, all right, I got to trust my only safety in this entire world is with my connection to source. That is my safety, not my bank account, not who I'm dating, not anything, like nothing else outside of me, not even my home or my belongings. All of that can fall away, but that's the safety. And when we trust and have massive faith and take aligned action, that's when we can create the lives that we desire and become the author of our life, co-writing with spirit.
Yeah. And a lot of people, well, I think most of the people listening to this will understand those terms. But a lot of people will start to dismiss, spirit, co-writing, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because they're like, oh, that sounds too woo-woo. So, I sometimes myself struggle, how can I put that in words for, like, I do bring up subjects like this all the time with people that I know outside of our venue, and I try to kind of drip ideas out there. And so what are some of the ways that you would share that with somebody who has probably never even thought about spirituality or about source or about like that connection or about internal strength?
Well, yeah, that's why that's why I do music,
Okay.
to reach the masses, right? On the radio stations, and have people will hear my song on the radio, like Dead Sober, for example, and they'll find my social media and they'll follow me on like Facebook or Instagram or my YouTube channel. And then through my social media, that's where I can speak more into my beliefs. But through like music is a beautiful way, because music is the universal language. Like everyone can resonate with that. And so my music is not it's inherently spiritual deep down. It has
but
very
it's not Christian,
no,
pop gospel or something like that.
Exactly.
So it can reach more people.
Yeah, it's mainstream pop, for the most part, for what I do. And I do that on purpose for exactly the reason that you're saying, to reach people, because there'll be something that hits them with the song and they're like, I want to know more. That is the opening. That's the door. That's the light opening for them to explore more into this world, right? Because you got to have an opening. If the door is closed, there's nothing we can do about it. But there's the opening, and then I usually find that people find my music, then they find my social, and then through my, how I explain things, they're kind of like, all right, first they think I'm crazy, and then something will happen in their life, and then they'll see my tapping video, and then they'll start tapping, and then they'll be like, oh, she talks a lot about hypnotherapy and like the mind. And it's like, marketing tells us people have to see you 7 times, your same message 7 times before they get it, right? And I kind of find that it's like that. And I've had a lot of people, and I'm not here to convert anyone into believing anything.
Except for maybe believing in themselves.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like that's all we want to do is, right?
Yeah.
Is convert them to have faith in themselves.
Yeah, and awaken the glow. And that's why my business and my music is Awaken the Glow. It's about awakening that glow within, taking your power back, having massive faith in whatever your faith is, and taking aligned action with your life, and allowing that to create this anointed path that then you can manifest whatever you want through visualization, through hypnosis, through all these other things that I teach, and then take one-on-one clients and group clients on. So to me, it all relates. And I've also learned, Desiree, because I did used to try to speak to everyone, not just with my music, but with like all my postings. And then I realized I was speaking to no one, because I was actually not being authentic. So I found that the more I speak like really clear to my vision and my beliefs, the more I attract the people that I'm meant to speak to. And subsequently, the more I repel the people that aren't meant to hear my message. And that's okay. I've had to become okay with that. Like, I'm not trying to win everyone over in life. That's not what we're here for. And if I was, then I'd be tapping into my people pleasing, which I'm in recovery for people pleasing,
Me too. I'm working on that people pleasing.
Yeah. So I guess my advice is like, speak your message. And do it with confidence and clarity, and we will attract our perfect people that are meant to hear the message and that are inspired. And then those that are on the, hey, like I like her energy, because our energy speaks for ourselves too. No matter what comes out of our mouth, it's how we show up in life. So
and you definitely have the energy.
Yeah, my dancing on the boat.
You're full of good energy. I love it.
Thank you. So often, like, I'll have clients that are like, I like your energy. And then I'll be like, yeah, if you want, they're like, I like your energy and I want to work with you. And I'm like, all right, well, here, let me send you my Yelp reviews. They're like, no, I don't need to see your reviews. Like, I like your energy. I want to work with you. And that's it. And then even if they're not spiritual, I'm like, well, just so you know, I'm really like, when you come to my office, like there's rugs and crystals, and they're like, I don't care. Like I can see that there's something here and I want to work with this. So again, I just be myself, and I don't try to hold back what I believe in. And I also don't try to convert anyone. I just show up, and then the perfect people are attracted to my message.
Yeah. And you know what, and here's similar strain here is, as anybody, like to talk about people pleasing or listening to other people's voices. That was a big one for me. And that's why my focus is on building personal intuition and that, because it was like my experience to bring it back in. And even as a professional, I have friends who say, I don't know if you should be like telling people about that, because you might scare them away. And then I had to like sit and think, wait a minute. And I thought, but but the whole point is I need to listen to my own intuition and be who I am. Like I said, be authentic.
Yep.
And the right people will work with me and the wrong people won't want to. And my place is full of crystals and tarot and oracle cards and all sorts of different. I love being surrounded by that, and I love that exploring every method. I've got like the Bible sitting next to the Bhagavad Gita, and they're all of it. And so it took me a lot to jump into saying, I love the metaphysical and speaking out more about what people would call weird or woo-woo. And I do a lot of that on this show, is introduce stuff like that, as well as helping fields like we're doing now. And I love it when it ties together like you are,
Exactly. And similar to you, Desiree, like I actually, on Sundays, I go to 2 churches. I have one church, which is like more traditional Christian based. And then I have another church called Unity, and it's interfaith, and it's beautiful. And I love both of them. And like, people can't comprehend that. Like, I'm like, you put religion in a box.
Yeah.
The difference with me is I've opened the box and I've allowed the expansion of what God is to encompass my entire life.
One of my pet peeves is where it's like people think God is only defined by their God, and I go on about that sometimes too. But I just recently made like a little meme that was like, forgot exactly what I said, but it was like, God is too big to fit onto the page of any book or something like that.
And it only separates us. It only uses fear tactics that are man-made, that are not God,
I know,
guilt and shame, to keep us separated from each other. And guess what? We're all humans, no matter black, white, woman, man, sexual identity. We're humans. When we all bleed the same blood. We all have skeletons when we die. We become the same thing, and we come into earth. We come into this life the same way. We're all humans. And that's what I'm here to teach. Like, God is good and great and created all of this. So guess what?
And he just has lots of different names. Wherever people came from, he has a different name, and that's a whole nother podcast too.
Yep.
So I want to get back to what took you to Nashville.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, God. So I do a sort of channeling through via rose quartz pendulum.
Okay.
And so I have this chart and the pendulum, and I say like 20 minutes of prayers, protecting my channeling, that only God and angels and anything from the heavenly realm is coming through.
I do the same. Yeah. We should get together with our pendulums. Yeah.
We should. Yeah. I love working with the pendulum. And so I will get paragraphs of messages coming through for me. And I specifically speak with God and Archangel Michael. Those are the 2 that come through for me every single time. Okay. And, usually nothing else. So it's like, all right, like I'm either getting it straight from source, or I'm getting, Archangel Michael, who's like my ascended master, who is tough. He's tough loving on me. He's like, Jourdan, you're here for big things. So like, get your act together. Right. And so my message was, cause I was freaking out, cause I had wanted to, I'm trying to think. I got multiple messages. This was at the beginning of this year, but it was overall, the message was, do not fear this move. You are completely safe and protected. Greater things are in the works, and you're being moved. The reason that you're being led to Nashville is to become more well-known.
Oh.
And now I loved that, because it didn't say to be a famous singer. It didn't say to be a famous healer. It just said more well-known in general, which is what I'm here to do. Like my mission, my purpose, to be on a bigger platform, to reach more people through, again, whatever creative avenue I'm in at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got that message to be more well-known. And then it's funny, because I was stressing about like, which moving company should I go with, and which date should I book the moving company? And like, those are the kinds of things too, where Archangel Michael will come in and be like, Jourdan, book Ben-Hur February 27th in the morning. Like, I'll get direct messages like that too.
Wow.
Exactly. And I'm like, all right. And I'll just go.
Yeah,
it's really handy. Also, if I ever lose my passport, I'll be like, where's my passport? It'll tell me exactly where it is. It's great.
That's great.
So I get really direct and clear messages through the pendulum, also through prayer and meditation. And I get intuitive hits all day. You know, it's not like I just have to use the pendulum. That's like, if I'm looking for really, really, if I'm looking for like really deep and clear messages, I'll go there. But otherwise throughout the day, intuitive hits all day long. And it's funny because I still to this day sometimes don't listen to all of them. And I'm like, why do I not listen to all of them? Like, I need to trust myself, you know?
And I think people get, you ever walk, you and I will understand this, walking along and like a sentence will just pop in my mind.
Yep.
Or a name or a word or a color. And I'm like, yeah. And I, ignore it. But if I stop and acknowledge it and say, what's that about? Why would that come up? I usually can trace it to a purpose and something that's to benefit me. And so so this little voice is always talking. We just need to kind of pay attention to it when something comes. So listeners and watchers, video watchers, when something just kind of pops in out of the blue, like it's not part of a normal conversation or whatever's happening in your head, stop and listen to it, pay attention to it, make a note of it, and go back to it later if you need to. But there's a reason, there's something in there for you to know. And you kind of just keep track. So those little, like you say, these little messages, and it's our intuition, and it's message from either beyond or inside, but whatever you want to call it. It's message for us.
Totally. And then for me, I had to go through the process of learning to discern what was my ego and what was my higher power. So there's that too, because like there's the inner roommate, the ego. And I don't know, have you ever read The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer?
It sounds familiar. I might own it and not have read it yet because I love buying books.
Most of us have many books we haven't read.
I probably own it. I'll go look for it.
So that book, I call it the modern day Bible. Like, it's amazing. Like, just read it. I recommend it to all my clients as like required reading to work with me. So like The Untethered Soul talks a lot about the roommate inside our head that's always there, always yakking, the ego, like the jealous self, the manipulative self, all of that. And then there's like, it's like the devil and the angel on the shoulders in the movie, but it's similar to that, where it's like, then there's your higher self, your intuition, your highest, whether you want to call that God or your higher self or whatever, then there's that. And that's what we're looking to discern and to tap into that. And it's a process, sometimes I'm like, oh, is that really like God, or is that what I want? Is that self-will run riot, or is that God's will that I'm here to live?
Right. What's it based on too? And I find that with relationships too. Like sometimes if I, get frustrated or jealous or angry at someone for not being who I want them to be, one of the biggest thing I learned was to let go and say, it's not about me. Their behavior is who they need to be. And, it's almost like this letting go. So when I think of jealousy or anger at someone, I realize that's my ego. That's when it's about the me here on earth, little, important me. Whereas, yes, I'm important, but it's a different kind of way that, I can let that person know how I feel about something, but I can let go and allow that person to be or feel or act like they are without it being about me. I don't know if this ties in, like if you're understanding my connection here, is like, that's how I hear my ego. But when I'm hearing my higher power self, I have more power. I'm not subject to someone else's behavior. I'm like, I'm okay. I feel good. And I let that come in instead of being stuck in the trying to control things that aren't mine to control.
And when I'm stuck in the ego, that's the other thing about, I've learned this recently, like the vulnerability aspect of building deep relationships. Like, instead of, you can build deep or you can build wide. It's like, if you're wide, you have a bunch of acquaintances and like it's happy-go-lucky and like everything's usually good with the friends. But then there's like the deep relationships that I'm really working on, like being my vulnerable, open self. Because when you I will have those thoughts. I'll be like, hey, I'm feeling jealous right now. And then instead of internalizing it and beating myself up, which I used to do, I used to internalize it and be like, Jourdan, what's wrong with you? This is your stuff. This has nothing to do with them. This is your stuff. Work on it. Like, you're such an asshole. Like, that's the negative self-talk that is not helpful for us. So, I'll tap on that. And I'll say all that stuff out loud. But in the moment, if I'm with that person, like, part of my practice of vulnerability is saying, hey, the story I'm telling myself right now is that I'm not good enough for you. And this is why. And by telling them that, and by saying that it's my stuff, it has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
We can actually cultivate an even deeper connection,
Right.
which has been really, really wonderful for me. Cause I'm like, I really don't have to hide anything. And it feels so good.
And a lot of times people don't know what you're thinking. They have no idea how you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, sharing your feelings, but then also saying, I understand this. Yeah. It's your behavior and how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I'm sharing that, and then I'm letting it go. We can work on it. You can listen or you don't have to listen. And that makes
and and again, that's the awareness part. There's the awareness, there's the sharing, and then there's the doing the work. So it's like, that stuff comes up for me. I write it down. In my next tapping session, I bring it up, or I journal about it, or I sit down at the piano and start writing a song. Feel that. So, but it's the awareness, the sharing to cultivate the vulnerability and the authentic, like the deep relationships, right? Then I call it like vertical love. It's love that never stops. It's always growing. It's so beautiful, and it's bringing all of that into how, like, we can heal in so many ways, right? Create, write, feel, tap, it's boundless. And so now I take my own tools that I teach my clients and I use them for myself. And then I post about how I use them for myself to show that, look, I'm a human too. I am fallible. I'm here in a body. Like, yes, we're eternal, perfect spirits, but like, I'm here in a body right now. So I'm in this world with you. Let's do this together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's almost like you're a teammate with yourself, because we've got our mortal self and our spiritual self, and we have to unite. And support ourselves. You know what I mean? It's like, so many people they're like so separate. And there's that whole like integration, I guess, is a word for that, that to be integrated, to bring ourselves all in one and be like, we're okay. It's okay to have human feelings.
Totally.
And it's even more okay to recognize that and allow ourselves to love ourselves no matter what. Because like you're talking about your addiction, if someone's busy hating themselves, they're going to be stuck in addiction forever, because it's not until you love yourself that you can say, I'm okay and I deserve to be happy and healthy. And
to have the willingness to change. That's the thing. It's like, I see a lot of people still in my meetings where they literally just are living in the cycle of negativity and they don't want to change.
Yeah, and that's their identity.
And I'm like, I choose better. Mm-hmm. I choose my life every day. I choose that doesn't have to be my story anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and living in that empowerment, there's a freedom to that. And I'm just like, until you're ready, until you want this enough, I can't want it for you. I can want it all I want. I can pray for you. I can have faith, but like, until you want this for yourself.
Yeah. And as life coaches, hypnotherapists, or that we can give them the tools, the motivation, we can be their, cheerleader, but it's a team. And sometimes, you just got to tell I've sometimes had to say to the client, look, you came to me, I'm not magic. I am magic, but I can't, but I'm only magic with your help. You've got to believe, you've got to believe, and you've got to do your part. Like,
you've got to do the work. You have to show up and do the work. Yeah. And same with my smoking clients. The first question I ask them before I even book their session, I'm like, do you really want to stop smoking? Because if you don't, like, you're wasting your money and my time. So
exactly.
Let's figure this out, because I'm here for you.
My cat sorry, I don't know if you saw that expression. My cat just decided to halfway jump on my lap. Okay, sorry. It's either up or down, cat, not halfway. I might have to edit that face out. No, I'll leave it there.
I love it. It's perfect. It's real life. It's real life.
Yeah, I know. I'm being myself. I'm totally vulnerable to cat claws right now. Anyway, so Spirit led you to Nashville. you're facing like this horrible time. I'm going to try to stop interrupting because it's so much fun to talk to you about all this stuff. But I want to get to the really big news about what I'm holding on to the end, people here. So don't leave yet. We have a great announcement about Jourdan. So you'll read it in the details anyway. So if you just want to skip to that, you can go. But so you go to Nashville. You're being told this is where you need to go. You deal with a bunch of crap after you get there.
Yep. You breaking me down.
Yeah.
Stronger faith.
When did you move here?
What?
When did you move?
So I arrived in Nashville on March 3rd, which is 3-3, and I arrived at 3:33 a.m. because 33333 are my special angel numbers, and I see them everywhere every day. And anyone who follows me knows that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I get messages from I'll get DMs on Instagram from people all over the world being like, "Look, I saw 333 today," and then they'll
Here
send
it is. Yeah. I did the same thing with 2s, and I get the 11s a lot. Yeah. There.
Yeah.
Now, if you're watching the video, you probably just saw the cat walk out and his tail go through that back door. So
I was going to say he made an appearance.
Yeah. No more scratching me.
Oh. Yeah. So 3-3 is when I arrived. Yeah. March 3rd. And by the end of March, because March was when I went through all the stuff. It was literally compounded within 2 weeks of moving here. I just literally lost everything, like everything that I thought was my sense of safety in this 3D world. And I realized, nope, it's the connection to the 5D, the infinite abundance and this divine realm that is always here to support us. We just have to ask. That's the other thing. Free will. We have free will in this life. We just have to ask for the help, and it's there for us. So if we don't ask for it, of course you're going to be, because you're not empowered, right? So we have to be empowered enough to ask for the help, and the help will arrive. So, and
smart enough to say yes when it's offered.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Don't talk. Oh, back in my addiction, I would be handed little opportunities like you wouldn't believe on a silver platter, and I would just push them away and I just ignore them. And I'm just like, what is it? Now I want to beat myself up. I'm like, nope, not going to beat myself up.
No, you're not.
Jourdan.
because you wouldn't be where you are right now. I always like my go-to is everything is happening just as it is supposed to be. When things are going bad, I'm like, this is exactly as things are meant to be right now.
Exactly.
And just allow it, because I know something better, or there's a reason it's coming.
Exactly.
And, trust and be patient.
Yep. And so all that stuff happened the first week, like the first 2 to 3 weeks of March. And then boom, by the end of March, so the end of month 1 of being in Nashville and kind of coming out of this like smaller version of a dark night of the soul. But again, you up level once you come out of that. Every breakdown leads to a bigger breakthrough. And I love that. So I'm like, okay, I invite in the breakdowns, but like, don't make them too bad, but I invite them in so I can do the healing work to break through even more. And so this breakthrough was getting signed to a record label.
Yeah.
And so that happened.
Exciting.
That happened right away. And then we met at the HypnoBiz right after that.
Yeah.
In May. And I had just been signed, and it was super awesome. And so now, because I have one song out, Dead Sober, which I think you saw me perform live.
Yes, I did. Awesome. And for you watchers and listeners, I will have a link to that, probably the YouTube.
Yes. Follow me and subscribe.
I'll make sure I put the proper link in there. You can just click right on it and enjoy that really cool song. And and you have many other songs too.
Yes. So I have other songs that are out from like 2013, because again, back in my addiction, I got songs on major TV shows. Like things were still happening then. It's just like I wasn't ready because I was so afraid of success. And now I'm like, I'm not afraid of success anymore, because I got over, like I'm still working on the people pleasing, but I'm in recovery for people pleasing. I'm like, I found my voice, I found my message. I'm unapologetic about it.
And you're dead sober.
Yeah, exactly. And bold in my requests, and just nothing's impossible. And so then I'm signed by this label. I'm working with an amazing producer right now. I have 2 new singles coming out soon. They are amazing, and I cannot wait to share them with you all.
Yeah.
I'm going to start releasing a bunch more music now. So I've got a team. I have a manager. I have a PR team. I have
That's
agents
so cool.
for me, bookers. I have the label, like everyone's working for me. And it's so beautiful because in the past, I wouldn't allow myself to receive it because I didn't think I deserved it, because we only accept the love we think we deserve. So people have always wanted to help me, but I wouldn't let them. People have always wanted to love me, but I wouldn't let them. And now I'm like finally allowing love into my life, and I'm allowing people to help me and to join my team and to say that's okay. And I deserve this. And I allow myself to receive it. And sometimes I have to step into it every day. I step into receiving this and breathe it in and feel that expansion, because there's triggers that come up. There's unworthiness, undeservingness that comes up still to this day. It's never before I get on a big stage, like there's the butterflies and there's the moment of, oh shit, like this is really happening. And then I do it and I'm free. But we always are going to have to be moving through fear, even at our highest levels.
Yeah.
Because we're always getting better and greater and up leveling. And so then I've had all these other great musical opportunities performing live. I almost booked a tour that was like a faith-based tour, and I wasn't going to be paid, but it was like a tour. And I was like, this is amazing. And I really, really want this tour. And so I would pray. I would like, God, help me get this tour. And then I always do pray, this or better. Show me the greatest.
Yes, I do that one too. Imagine. Yes. If not this, then something better. Yes.
So I thought this tour was perfect. I thought it was literally just crafted for me. And I even had started telling people about it. And then I didn't get on the tour. And I was like, wow. I was like, wow, like what? And I questioned, like I didn't believe God was there, but I questioned, I was like, what's going on? Like, yeah. And then my housemate, who's also with the label, and she's amazing, super, super music mastermind and connector. She's like, Jourdan, there's something better out there for you. And I was like, what could be better? Like, what could be better than this? This was so great. And then again, within a month, I get booked on a paid tour to 50 concerts cities around the United States over these next 10 months.
I'm so excited.
And the first date is in Alaska. I'm going to Alaska at the end of August. I'm so excited. And like literally, this was something that I couldn't even imagine. And it's like we try to put our tiny human minds into what we think is best for us when God has such a greater plan. Yeah. A much greater plan for us. So like I couldn't have even comprehended this would be available to me now at this point in my career. I thought, that's only for like the huge stars. But no, this is just the beginning. And I'm allowing myself to receive it. And it feels really good.
And I'm so excited. So Jourdan shared this on her Facebook page. Mm-hmm. And back in May, we had talked about doing a podcast video interview like we're doing right now. And I thought, okay, that's my sign, because she's going on the road and I've got to catch her while she's still in one place. Yep. and it's like, okay, time to get her on the interview. So, and also because I wanted to share this ahead of your tour. And let people know as much as I can spread the word, as well as you, to go find Jourdan. And
definitely. Definitely. And anyone who's watching, I'm really active on social. So like follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Jourdan Rystrom.
Yep. I'm Jourdan Rystrom everywhere. So just Google my name and I'll come up, and let's connect. I'd love to hear your story. I'm super accessible in that way, where I'm here to connect. Like that's what we're here to do. And social media, if you use it in the right way, it can be really powerful.
Yeah. And I find that, depending on like, since HypnoBiz, meeting all those people so for those of you who don't know, HypnoBiz in New York, it was an international gathering of hypnosis-based hypnotherapists, hypnotists, a conference, and I made like you say, talk about reaching out. I love my home base, U.S. based group, but this was so interesting. People from all varieties of hypnosis, not
Yeah.
not just the therapeutic, but also stage hypnosis.
Yeah. All kinds.
So much fun. But I probably, were talking about social media. After that, I must have picked up 75 new Facebook friends, and it continues to grow. And then from that, new groups and subgroups off of that. And so it's great to network and meet all these people in the same field. And just, so now what I see on my feed is just like, everything's like, I'm also an artist. So all I see is art and helping fields, and it's really uplifting to get on there. Or people that are posting, if I follow some groups about, metaphysical stuff or ancient aliens or stuff like that, but it's, I'm hoping it stays that way as the elections get closer, so I don't have, sorry people. Like I said, I'm at my dad's house, my parents' house, so we get to hear that phone ring here. It's the real world.
Every time you hear the phone ring, you become more and more confident.
Yeah, and it's angels.
Yes. Exactly.
And I can tell it's my sister calling. Yay,
so there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, so
I loved Hypnobiz. I love all sorts of networking, because we get to really curate the people that we want in our lives. That's the other thing. You don't have to put up with toxic people. You can allow yourself to disconnect lovingly and with kindness, and you can curate your Facebook page to the people that you want to see. Like, it's up to you. Like, your mental health is more important. And Hypnobiz was my first time presenting.
Really?
I presented and performed, and that was really fun. It was
so fun, wasn't it? I'm going to be presenting next year. So I hope your schedule makes it so you're coming to Hypnobiz. I don't know.
I hope so too. I hope I'm definitely, like, we already talked about performing. I would love to present too, or do, I think I might do a post-conference workshop. But I need to see the tour dates first before I can commit fully. But I'm like,
kind of blend in.
If I'm open,
And now there's the Women Hypnotists. The Women Hypnotists Summit coming up in California next summer, like a year from now, and I'm going to be there presenting too. So you got to make it to one of these, or I'll just have to go to that. I'll have to track you down where you're on tour and come see you at one of these.
Yeah,
that
totally.
Would be fun.
The coolest thing about this tour is that they're flying me in and out of each city. So I get to live my life in Nashville.
Oh, okay. They're going to actually let you go home. You don't have to live in a grubby bus or something.
No, I'm telling you, I could have never imagined this.
and getting paid. Getting sent there and paid. This is beautiful. And people think of performers as, like being rich, it's not necessarily true, but you're going to be, and I can say
I'm already rich.
I know who to borrow money from in the future, right? You're richer than someone with a whole ton, but there is that growing stage where you spend so much money and time building your venue, building your message, and getting your songs and work out there. And so go support your local musicians, buy tickets. And buy CDs and buy MP3s and share her music.
Yes.
So it's I'm very excited for you.
Yeah, and I'm here to get if Dead Sober, for example, has touched so many lives in terms of
it's a really good. I walk around singing it. It's really. I mean, it's like I hear it'll just start singing in my head, and it's a really. Besides being a great message, it's a great song. It's kind of really fun to just sing anyway, even if it wasn't tied to a wonderful message. So you're very talented.
And that's why I make it. I'm not doing it for the money. Like, the money will come when you follow your dreams. When you when you tap into what you're here to do in the world, the money will follow. So right now I'm just here to inspire. I'm here to create. And I just trust that I'm fully supported no matter what.
Yeah, you got to love what you're doing, and so many people, like we talked about before, try to fit into a peg. They try to go to college for, what am I going to make money at? And they kill themselves studying or doing something that they don't really have their heart's not in it. And then they live and they kill themselves all their lives. Then they retire.
You're my clients. They come to me then.
Exactly. And then I actually, had I referred because I couldn't, but I had clergy. I had somebody who was retiring clergy
Mm-hmm.
wanting to make an appointment, and I wasn't able to keep it, so I referred him to a friend. But and here he was, a clergyman all his life, and it was like kind of surprising to me that they face the same thing. I've had other professionals come after 30 years and they're retiring and they're lost
Yeah.
because that was their identity. So if they had been just, I guess he followed his heart, but then he kind of felt lost without his, flock, right?
Yeah.
Whereas other people, they were business, 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 but
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have some other expression that was inside of them that doesn't matter if it's work or not.
And the
Because you'll
other
always be
thing,
able to make songs. I'll always be able to write.
yeah,
I'll always be able to do hypnotherapy. Um,
yeah,
I'll always be able to paint.
yeah.
And
And
yeah,
the other thing is like we're not, that's the other thing that people need to realize. We are not our career. That's
yes,
not what brings our worth into this world.
yeah,
We are worthy just for being born.
yeah. And it's not about what you do. It's about who you are inside and how you present yourself to those around you. I really think it's important. Is what kind of friend are you? What kind of person are you at the checkout line in the grocery store?
Yeah,
It's like what are you sharing that is you, not your job. And if you're doing
yeah,
your job, how are you being in your job? How are you
exactly.
relating to people?
How can you bring more fun and play into your life?
Yeah.
I'm so like, you met me, like I bring fun and play into
Yes.
everything.
You are
And
fun.
I believe in
You've
not
got to be
taking
at you've got to go to New York again, because we are going
and
dancing on that party yacht.
dance and feel.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not,
so fun.
it's not, you shouldn't be ashamed to have fun and to feel and to dance.
Yeah,
That is what we're here to do. So whatever you do in life, play. Allow yourself to play because our inner children,
yeah,
this is where we reconnect. And even
yeah,
if you don't believe in God, you can believe that you had a 5-year-old you. So
yeah.
reconnect to that part of yourself and allow the joy and the play to come out in all that you
Yeah,
do.
she's still in there. As a matter of fact, the Bacon brothers, the duo they play. It's Kevin Bacon and his brother, who unfortunately I always forget his name because Kevin's famous. But
Mhm.
they play music, and they just put out a video called "Play," and
Oh,
it has
fun.
and they asked for input from people of them playing. And
Yeah.
so I thought that's, it's true.
Yeah.
It's cute. It's like, talk about, you gotta play. You gotta
Yeah,
have
we have to
fun.
play. And my friend, I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Gary Ware. He just did a TED Talk. He's a play expert.
Wow,
He
how
literally,
cool.
yeah, he did a TEDx talk on bringing play into your life and into your workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes everything. Even if you are like, if you're listening right now and you're like, I am stuck in a corporate job and I need to provide for my family and I really don't feel like there's a way out, at least right now. But what can I do to make my life, 5% better? Add play into what you're doing, and
Yeah,
you will
I
get more.
did a podcast recently about perceptions, but that was more about people. But also, one of the things I like to present, if I have the opportunity to speak to a group of working people, is how can you change your perceptions about where you are? And you would understand that is like,
Yep.
oh, my job sucks, right? Or you can say, I'm grateful I have a job and it gives me the money to provide for the things I want. So,
Mm-hmm.
you may not like your job. You may not like getting up in the morning
Yeah.
because, like, people say, oh, I hate getting up. Say, I'm grateful I can get my feet on the floor and stand up out of bed.
And
Just a
yeah.
perception of how you look at the people around you. Even if you got the grumpy coworker, you can say, he's
Mm-hmm.
probably having a bad day and I'm not going to let it affect me. As a matter of fact, instead of being grumpy back, I'm going to try to do something nice for that person. And they'll probably look at you a
Exactly.
little astounded, but like, it can
Yeah.
change the whole dynamic if
Mm-hmm.
you get the ball rolling with some positivity, you know?
Yes. And language is so important. And I wanted to
Yeah.
throw this out there. One small change you can make in your language is instead of using the word but, replace it with the word and it will change your life.
I have
So
heard that before and I forget to use it. Yeah,
yeah, I
I like
noticed.
that.
I was gonna say, oh, let's
Yeah. Yeah.
because like I don't have enough money. What was it? I'm trying to think of a good example. I have I have $200 in my bank account, but I want to take a vacation.
Right.
Think about how limiting that is.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, you can say, I have $200 in my bank account and I want to take a vacation. That creates a space for possibility.
It's
and
a lot more expansive.
It creates a space to create something from that. But the word but is a cut word. It's, it's like separating you, like taking away your power again. So it's like, and I catch myself saying but too, and then I'll replace it in the moment. And then with practice, I swear it will be gone. Like within like 6 months. You guys practice for 6 months, but it's like, I'm doing this and this.
Yeah.
And it changes the whole thing.
I studied LLP and NLP, and so I should know, but
no should there's shaming,
and I'm getting better at it. I catch myself all the time, and also about switching out words from one that has the negative and versus the positive. So like the thing of saying, instead of saying I feel tired, saying I am not feeling very energetic.
Yeah.
And instead the action word, making it the positive word. And so I will share that with people. However, I catch myself needing, there's my humanness needing me to tell myself that too.
Exactly. And instead of saying, sorry, I'm late, or sorry that the phone rang, saying thank you for your patience.
Exactly.
Thank you for being here with us as we're human.
It changes the energy. It changes from, a low to a thank you to a positivity. Plus, that also helps the person that you're dealing with not maybe jump all over you if you're thanking them. What are they going to say when you said thank you? There's a nice little trick for you to use as well, is show gratitude for them, and they might just back off from their negative feelings of you having to, feeling like, what you would normally be apologizing for is showing gratitude.
Totally.
Anyway, I can't wait so you start your tour when?
August 30th.
Coming up. Okay. So a month from now, you're going to be in Alaska singing, and it goes from there, and we're going to have the link for your tour. We're going to have the link to your Dead Sober, which is the one that is coming up and getting up on those charts. That's really getting some, and also is kind of like right now at this moment, it's sort of like your poster for your life and how you feel, how you got where you are is allowing yourself to feel everything.
Feel everything no matter what, all the stuff, everything good and bad, because we can't feel joy if we haven't felt pain. The more pain we allow ourselves to feel, the more there's a space to fill that up with joy.
It helps it get out, because otherwise you're trying to just hold it in. It's that once you let it feel, it can disperse, and then that would get me into that whole metaphysical, not metaphysical, even like body electricity and some of the techniques like tapping, and that's
all of it.
That helps break that energetic tie to these emotions, that it allows it to disperse and release, and then you make room for the good stuff to take over. Anyway, there's so much. Like there's so
up
much.
And out.
Up and up. All right, that's someone else's
song.
Out, baby. Anyway, I know we've been talking for a while, but I'm so glad I got to talk to you, and I'm going to get all the links I need from Jourdan. I'm going to put them in the description. So please go there. And
please, follow me on social. I'm launching a new website, awakentheglow.com, with all my healing and my services and coaching and all of that. So if that interests you guys at all, definitely reach out. I'm so excited to launch my new site. So that's getting all prepped and planned.
You're going to be busy.
Oh yeah, busy. And then JOURNEYWITHDESIREE.com is all my music stuff. So all the things are happening. Everything is good. I am so grateful for you having me on the show, Desiree.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you. No, thank you for being here. And I'm so glad to see you. It's been, I was really looking forward to this. So hopefully next time it'll be in person. And
for sure.
Good luck on the road. I'll be watching.
Thank you.
Okay, love you. And I'm going to click off here, and then I'll say goodbye again.